Only the most successful advisors offer discounts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Perfect RIA Podcast. I'm your co-host and co-founder, Matthew Jarvis, and with me, the man, the myth, the legend, Micah Shalansky. Micah, how are you, my friend?
Jarvis, it's another wonderful day in paradise. Still down in Arizona with the fam, so just having a great time down here. I'm definitely climatizing because I put a jacket on when it's 50 degrees outside. So we normally call it a summer day in Alaska, but apparently I'm climatizing. But it's so wonderful, right? The benefits and blessings we have in the lifestyle that we can have and operate that benefits our family with our chosen profession is just amazing. To be able to spend that quality of time, especially I know that you have as well, minor children, and to be able to be intentional with that time and spend with them anyways, just such a blessing, and so grateful to be in this profession and to very intentionally design a lifestyle that benefits our clients, our team, and most importantly our families.
Oh, I love that. And kind of related to that lifestyle, Mike, I just spent the last week down in Cabo, Mexico, doing mountain biking with an advisor
Yeah.
friend. And Michael, one of the questions he had was about this podcast. He said, maybe this is confession here, but he says, Jarvis, how far in advance are you planning the podcast episodes? And I explained to him, I said, well, they're recorded weeks in advance so that there's a queue of them. But really, Mike, it comes down to what are you and I most passionate about in our own practices? So, not what are we most passionate about other people doing? What did we read in the news that we're passionate about? This is really like what in our practice, in our businesses, are we most passionate about talking about? And that's what we do because, like doing masterminds, even if no one listened to this episode, and now tens of thousands of people do, if no one listened to, we're still having a great time and we're improving our practices.
And the biggest thing that we're getting out with this, right, is we definitely want to help advisors. We want to help you, our listeners, grow your practice, as etc. But we want to take it from a position of authority, not a
Mhm.
position of theory, right? We want to say these are the things that we have learned and done, and we try to make that a clear. And feel free to push back, listeners, right? I mean, if we're getting off our area of expertise, we'd really love to hear that. But we really try to focus on what are areas that we've made mistakes on, and let's air those. Let's go through those.
Mhm.
And again, Jarvis, to your point, it really keeps you and I accountable to make sure we're delivering massive value to our clients.
Yeah. Well, and today, this is a topic we're discussing is actually something we ran into not in our practices this week, but at the Perfect RA this week, which is the request, can I get a discount? Now, Micah, you and I have, between the two of us, had the fee discussion with thousands of times at this point between the two of us.
Thousands. Yeah.
And it can be a really hard discussion. And if you're newer in your career, I guess wherever you're in your career, if you are not totally confident in your fee schedule and the value you provide, this is probably the most dreadful conversation you can have. You probably have reoccurring nightmares about people asking you about your fee and for a discount on your fee.
And it's one of those things. I think this comes with the self-confidence or law of attraction or however you want to phrase that in your own head. But when we're focused on something, and the focus could be, I hope someone doesn't ask me, or the focus is I'm nervous
Mhm.
about, or I don't think I'm worth X, then all of a sudden we're going to attract those circumstances into our lives where it becomes an issue. Versus once we internalize and we know what our value is, and you maybe listen to this and say, yeah, I know I offer value, but I still need to offer a discount. Okay, then you really don't know your value. This is my
Mhm.
pushback I'm going to give. Once we truly know the value in which we provide and the services that we offer, we are more confident in this. And we don't get that question very often. I remember early in my career, I got it a
Mhm.
whole bunch. And once I finally developed confidence in the services that we were providing and the value in which we offer to clients, it went away magically. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike. And I think just to really drive that home, if you get awkward at all when the question of your fees come up. So if me asking you what your fee schedule is, or asking you for a discount for your fees, or asking if there's any other way to do your fees, if the tone of your voice, if your mindset, if your mood changes at all from if I asked you what is your name, then we have an issue around fees. So if I say, hey, Michael, what's your name? You're gonna say, well, my name is Michael Shalansky. Like there's not going to be a pause. There's not going to be hesitation. There's not going to be awkwardness. You're not going to look at your feet. You're not going to hope they don't ask your name. It's just natural. But if I ask you your fee, if
Yeah.
I ask you for a discount, you're like, well, well, it's really important that we provide value, and now we have a problem.
I was hoping you were going to ask me what my name was. I was going to say Matthew Jarvis. Oh wait, no, it's yeah. So no, that's the confidence that we need to have. Also with the fee discussion, we talked about this last week on the podcast as well. Not putting your team in an awkward position
Mhm.
is making sure that in your team you know who can have a fee conversation and who can't. right? This is going to be really, really important, kind of qualifying questions and where's there. So the process in our office, my RM team is 100% fine talking to prospects about fees. They have zero qualms with that whatsoever. It's 497 to book an appointment, and they're great with that. Once it get past that, the AUM fee or the
Mm,
financial planning fee, they don't feel comfortable. Now we could dive into a whole different podcast about what that head trash is or what that mentality is, but it's also about knowing the success of my team and saying, perfect, they can have this conversation. That means I need to be super confident having this other part of the fee conversation.
it really is, and Mike, like you said, it's tough in professional services, right? We're not alone in professional services, but in professional services, it's very difficult to say like, "Hey, my fee should be X," because you don't have a cost of goods sold, right? Now we can argue that cost of goods sold is a terrible way to set your price, but there's no, there's not really a lot of incremental costs. Like, what do you have, an extra license at your financial planning software? It's it. So it can be tough
Right.
to do. There's a lot of head trash that comes around this. And when the discussion of should I discount my fees or will you give me a discount, Mike, I think there's a couple things that come up. I'm going to take the easy one because I'm going to let you take the hard one. So- Sometimes you'll meet with people that ask for a discount because they cannot afford your fee. And let's use
Right.
your 497 initial appointment. They say, listen, I'm having trouble getting out of debt. I don't have $497. And so there's this temptation to say, well, I need to do a good deed. I need to discount my fee. And that's totally incorrect. There is a place for pro bono financial planning. It's within
Yep.
a time block called pro bono financial planning. There are amazing resources for people who don't have resources. It's called Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. I do one thing, I have one niche and it costs this. And if that's not a good fit for you because you can't afford it, you can't see the value, there's not enough value for you, whatever the case may be, then go in peace. I only do this one thing for this one fee.
Okay, and let's take it before we jump into the harder one, right? Let's take it in another context. Let's put it with a physical item. Let's pick on Apple, right? Let's pick on
Yes.
your iPhone. Let's pick on your computer. So you can't afford $1,000 for almost a freaking supercomputer in your pocket. Does that mean you go to Apple and say, "Hey, I'd like a discount. I can't afford this, but I'd like the same phone"? The answer would be no. Great news is the marketplace has designed Samsung with a flip phone for probably $50, or I don't even know what they are, right? But there's
Yeah.
other options that you can have for those resources. So you as the financial advisor do not have to be the sole solution to every person's financial problem. And Jarvis, I mean, not saying this is a cold hearted. I'm
Mm-mm.
going to say this from a pure value perspective. I know my niche in federal employees and I know I can offer massive value. If someone comes to me in debt issues, I've been out of that game for so long, I would not be able
Mm-mm.
to add massive value to them. And so I refer them, perfect. Here's the Dave Ramsey course. Here's another couple of advisors that specializes in debt reduction, etc. You need to talk to them. Mike, you won't work with me? It's not that I don't want to work with you. It's that I don't know enough about this. I don't do debt consolidation. I don't do these types of things. The game has changed and I would do you a disservice. Now, I believe that to my core. Now,
Mhm.
could I figure this out? Yeah, I kind of think I could figure almost anything out, right? But that's not what
Yeah.
they're hiring for. They're hiring me for to be an expert in this area, and I'm not.
Yeah. Mike, I think where this comes up the most often, at least for my experience, and again for our listeners, love to hear where you're running into this, right? In your practice, not hypotheticals, by the way. Please don't ever email
Yeah.
us with like a straw man or like, what if an alien comes down from Mars and they want a deal? Like, don't waste our time with that. But if you say, hey, listen, I met with a prospect and they pushed hard on that, we love to hear those. You can email those to lifestyle at the perfect RA. Michael, where I see those come up myself most often, people who are friends and people who are
Yes.
friends of clients, right? So I feel like, oh, well, maybe I can make an exception to that. But you can't. You cannot make exceptions to things because once you go down there, like once you open that door, it's like once you check your email, I'm only gonna spend 4 minutes on my email. Sure, you
Yep.
are. I'm only gonna spend 4 minutes looking at the Wall Street Journal. Sure, you are. You can't open that door. My fee is X. Now, maybe once a year I'll revisit that, but my fee is X, and it's that. It's just not negotiable.
You know, Jarvis is slightly off the discount topic, but one of the things that came up to me recently is a good shooting buddy of mine came up and
Mm,
had a substantial increase in money in his life, and he didn't know what to do with it, right? So he called me. He's like, I don't know what to do. So I talked him through a couple of different things. Said, hey, let's book an appointment. Let's go through these other things. Now he is not set up as an ideal client, but he
yep.
wants to talk to me because he doesn't know what to ask. Well, perfect. I have a slot for that. It's called a prospect appointment for 497, and I am happy to chat with him under that professional relationship. And I know, and I've already told him this. I said, look, this probably isn't going to work for us long term, but he wants to talk to me first. Great. We have created a system for that. And
Mhm.
that's our 497 appointment. And then from that, I've already told him, says, look, we're going to help you find another financial advisor because what you're dealing with is not what I specialize in. And so you got to have a system for that. Now, if you don't have a system for that, then you just need to stop right there. Or maybe it's your 15-minute phone call with them and says, look,
Mhm.
I'm not the specialist in your area. Here's the specialist in which you can go to get help with.
Yeah. Like, I love this point about having a system, and I think that's where people get caught off guard is they're not sure what to do with it. They're not sure what to do with the
Yep.
friend that they want to help out. And so that's where I always encourage advisors, we encourage advisors, put this in writing. Have just in writing for yourself. If someone asks for this, if someone asks for a free hour of my time, what do I say? So that you're not in the moment like, well, I guess maybe on Tuesday we could do. No, if someone asks for an hour of Micah's time, great. It's 497. Glad to meet with you. If you ask for an hour of my time, I say, listen, I really just don't do that. I'm like, I go through my whole doctor analogy, right? Like, I'm like a knee surgeon. I only do knee surgery. What you need is like a cardiologist. I don't do
Right.
cardiology. I'd be glad to refer those. I recommend you go wherever you go. So you just need to have an answer for that. That takes away so much pressure.
Jarvis, she's talking about Aaron head trash. This is going to be
Yes,
super
please.
funny. I don't think I've ever told you this. I have no problem sitting down with a client and charging a value-based financial planning fee of thousands of dollars and 2% on money AUM management fee. I hesitate on the 497 prospect conversation. I
Interesting.
have fast so my arms handle it, so it's beautiful. I never have to. Right? I said, great, it's my arms. I don't talk about the fees. I don't talk about anything else. I get them to the arms, and the arms handle it, and they do a beautiful
Yeah.
job. And I don't know if it goes back to an abundance issue about being so hungry for prospects when I started, but I really have a hard time with that. So for me, I just don't have that conversation because the RMs do it so beautifully. Why should I get involved and mess this system up?
Well, you go to any medical profession. Let's set aside like things covered by insurance because that's just a disaster. But like when I take my kids to the orthodontist and I meet with the orthodontist, she never, ever, ever talks about money. And if I ask, she says,
Yeah.
Matthew, you know what? We've got this gal. I can't remember her name. She's going to help you figure that out because I just don't take care of that. My job is to make sure your kids' teeth look beautiful. Her job is to make sure everything gets paid. You can talk to her. And then she leaves the room,
Perfect.
probably because she doesn't enjoy that conversation.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
yeah, that's her system. I will never talk about fees ever. I have a person who does that.
And doctors shouldn't talk about money because 'cause they're horrible at it,
They're
right?
horrible at it, yeah.
Yeah, so these are things about knowing where knowing where you're gonna be successful at, and going on that and creating a system for success. All right, Jarvis, let's talk about the other one, which is more
Mm,
challenging, I think, on the discount side. So you have the one discount, which you brought up earlier, which
mhm.
was, "I can't afford this, right? But I really need your services. How should that work?" Then you're gonna have the other ones that I think are a little bit more fun, but are a little bit more challenging, that people wanna push for discount just to see if you're actually convinced of your own price. And
Yes.
I am a person that's going to fall in that camp. If I see any hesitation in price, now this has become a game. And
Mhm,
now I'm going to push for a discount just for fun and just to see how low I can get that price. Now you could be saying that's cruel, that's mean. Okay, well that's just kind of how I'm wired,
mhm.
and I see blood in the water, and now I want to go for that. And guess what? We have clients that do the same thing. Retired colonels, for me, whenever someone's coming in as a retired colonel, I know this is a conversation they're going to have because one of the things they do a lot is push back. And if you know retired colonels, you know this is the case. They push back on things instantly, and they come with a lot of force. And so they're going to push back on my price. And I know it. So I got to have a system for success when that comes up.
Yeah, retired colonels, entrepreneurs, anybody that's
Yep.
involved in real estate, working with vendors and contractors, these people, they're used to pushing back all the time. This, by the way, is what separates great advisors from just okay advisors, is great advisors anticipate this. Great advisors say, all right, this prospect is retired colonel. They're a entrepreneur. They're going to push on this fee. I need to make sure that I've rehearsed again before the meeting. When they say this, how am I going to respond? So, Micah, when they say, "Hey, Micah, looks, I get that your fee is this. Can I get a discount on that?" They're going to be smarter than that. They're not just going to ask for a discount. Like, well, I know that's what you charge everybody else, but what's my rate, right? That's probably more along the lines of what they're going to ask.
So brilliant. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
With
they never say the word discount,
no,
right?
and never can I, right? A good negotiator's not going to say
That
that.
is
Yep.
correct. Yeah, it's always an assumption that they're going to get this when they're going to go through. So generally, what I like to do is whenever they say, "Well, what's my rate going to be?" All right, what if I only do so many services? How do we do this? And it says, "You know what?
Mhm.
I'm fully flexible on my financial planning fee. It's 100% negotiable. This is just the minimum you have to pay. You're welcome to pay anything above this price."
And if you're not watching the video recording of this, right, Micah's delivering this with a big smile, right? This isn't like a snarky comment, right? It's to have fun with them. It throws them off the
Right.
game because they've never heard that before. Again,
Yep.
separating great advisors from just okay advisors, right? An okay advisor would say, well, this is my fee. A great advisor is going to kind of take that to the next level, make them think like they haven't thought before.
And also, this is in my heart of hearts, I truly believe this. This
Mm,
is the value in the service I'm providing, and this is a fair fee. Because again, I've already gone through my three P's in my mind
mhm,
with this prospect, right? Personal, productive, and profitable, right? Personal, gotta like them, they gotta like me. Productive, I have to be able to add value. They have to be able to see the value. And profitable, I have to be able to, the value that I'm generating has to be worth the fee I'm paying, and it has to meet my fee matrix, right? It has to go through all
mhm.
three of those P's. So I've already done that. I've already seen that I can add value in their situation. Therefore, I'm 100% confident in the fee in which we're charging because guess what? It adds value to them.
I love it. Mike, a response that because again, the response has to be true for you. This is a mistake I made early in my career was using other people's scripts word for word. So you might think of
Ah,
Micah's script, you might think, I can't say that. Like that doesn't work in my does just work for my soul, for my geographical region, for whatever the case may be. So you've got to translate that for what you're comfortable. One thing I say to prospects when they ask for a discount, I say, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, I would really like to work together. I think we can deliver a lot of value to you. Here's the thing, I never discount my fee because if I give you a discounted fee, I would feel like I need to go back to all of my existing clients who've been with me for decades and offer them the same discount. And suddenly I'm not making any money and now I'm in trouble with my wife. So therefore I don't do discounts, period. I just don't.
yeah,
I'm sorry. And that's how I that feels really good to me. Now again, we can poke
perfect.
holes on that, right? Well, what is this
Yep.
communism? If you give one person to do it, you have to get rid of it. Nope. That's just my answer and it works really well for me.
And that's the beautiful part about this system, right? And Jarvis, I want to
Mhm,
pull out what you just said a second ago. You have to find a script that works for you. So that doesn't mean you have to duplicate mine or Jarvis's or somebody else's. What you have to do is find out what you are confident in saying. Now, if you're not confident in saying it, a couple things that you can do. One, say it 100 times every day. Yep,
mhm,
that's dramatic. But guess
yep,
what? Say it. And when you say it in your mind, you're going to be thinking, I don't believe that. I don't buy it, etc. And you need to keep saying it until you believe it, until you buy it. Otherwise, you shouldn't be bringing on any clients because you're screwing them all. If
mhm,
you are not adding value for the service and the fee in which you are charging, then you are taking advantage and screwing your clients. It's one or the other in my mind, right?
yep.
That's it. It's a binary question. It's A or B. There is no middle ground. You provide more value for the fee and you charge, or you're ripping your clients off. Which camp are you in? I am in the I provide a tremendous amount of value camp to my clients. They're delighted to work with us. I'm delighted to see them. I have a mini search coming up. I'm delighted about bringing them in the office and going through and making sure we're adding value for the fee. Which camp are you in?
If you're in sort of an in-betweener, let's go for people that have not yet established that level of
No, I already
conviction.
said it was binary. It's one or the other. I didn't say there. What is this in between crap you're
That's right,
bringing
that's
up?
right. I'm self-identified as in between. Um, if you're struggling for parts of my for parts of my career when I struggled, this is when I created our prospect process. And by the way, you can go back and watch our webinar series for members of the Backstage Pass and Invictus.
Oh, that's right.
Put the choice on them. My fee is X, my value is Y. If that makes sense to you, let's work together. If it
Yeah.
doesn't, then let's part ways. Which, by the way, Micah, you and I still use that to this day.
Yes.
But those two are not negotiable. If my fee is not negotiable, the value I provide is not negotiable. Just like if I go to the Apple store and I say, "Hey, can you make this in fluorescent purple?" They're gonna be like, "No, these are the six colors we have." Yeah, but can I get fluorescent purple? No. Can I get a deal? No. It's this iPhone. It's 10 gazillion dollars. That's what you'll need to replace it in 2 years. That's what the deal is. Take it or leave it. Same with the Ritz Carlton, with flying first
Yep.
class, with anything. Like it's this price, it's this deliverable. You have to go in with that level of confidence. And Micah, here's where the danger is. As soon as you start saying that either of those are flexible, or even implying that either of those are flexible, suddenly everything you do becomes negotiable. Hey, that
Yes.
Roth conversion. Well, are you confident on that or is that flexible? Not selling when the market's down. Are you confident or is that flexible? Not buying leveraged bitcoins. Is that confident or is that flexible?
And this really comes into in the client service, and I want to talk about this in the value in which we offer, right? But I want to pick on,
Mhm.
actually not pick on, but pull out a little bit what you just said because it was something that came up relatively recently. It was the end of last year with a client, and they went to buy a condo and just made all of these horrible decisions. One, they listened to a real estate agent, which is generally a bad idea, and then they were going to do a 60-day rollover, but they really couldn't, and all of these horrible things that they were going to do, and really devastate their financial success. And the husband was all about moving forward with it, but I was like, absolutely not. This is a bad idea. And because when I stand up and I say no, no means no and yes means yes. And sure, there's decisions that says, do I do a 20,000 or a 30,000
Mhm.
Roth conversion? Okay, there's not a deal breaker there, but this was a deal breaker conversation. And because the client knew my convictions, and this all started with a financial planning fee, by the way, because they
Mhm.
knew my convictions, no was no. And if they did this, I would graduate them because I'm not going to captain a sinking ship, right?
Mhm.
Question: I'm not going to steer that ship into the iceberg. I'm not going to have any part of that whatsoever. And so this was a very hard conversation, but because had my convictions, we were able to steer them away from making this horrible decision that they were about to make that they couldn't afford to do.
Micah, this almost has become an episode on conviction, right? And we think that fees are the
Yeah.
separate issue, but it's really about conviction. A quick example of that: when I was flying back from Mexico, we were flying into Seattle. The pilot comes on the thing. He says, "Hey, blah, 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 blah. We can't land in Seattle. We have to go land at an alternate airport." Now, I was quite upset by this because I did not want to land at an alternate airport, but he did not say. If he did, could you do a quick show of hands? Who wants to give it a go of landing in Seattle? He didn't have the intercom on while him and the co-pilot are arguing with air traffic control whether they can land or not. That was probably all going on. He comes on, ladies and gentlemen, due to blah, 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 we're not going to land in Seattle. We're going to land in Everett. When we land in Everett, we'll answer all your questions about what we're going to do next. Okay, great. Here we go. But again, once you waffle and you think, well, that's different, right? These are people's lives. I don't know. Give someone the choice of dying early or running out of money. You might be surprised which option they pick.
That's right. That's right. And actually, Jarvis, that brings back flashbacks when you and I were flying together for the first time in my plane. And sure enough, that same thing happened. We had to
Sure enough.
deviate.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
It
two
did.
versions of this story. Yeah.
We made a left, and then Anchorage, where we were landing, disappeared. It was all in cloud, so we had to go somewhere else. But you didn't object to it. I don't think it was open for discussion. But yes, it was one of those things that we had to make a change. So again, how much conviction do you have in your recommendations? I love it.
For the record on that story, it was not when we couldn't land in Anchorage because I couldn't see where Anchorage was either. It's when Micah takes me to a snowed in soccer field and says, "This is the airstrip we're going to land." And I said, "Well, okay, I guess this is Alaska." And then, just because we're telling this story, we land in the snow in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. At least what to me felt like
Safely,
nowhere. Yeah, safely. It
safely.
was a very smooth landing. And then we're standing there by the plane, and he says, "Don't worry, someone's going to come get us." Like, okay, because I'm going to freeze to death here pretty quick. I guess this is Alaska. And sure enough, just like your conviction said, someone did show up to get us.
Somebody showed up and we were good. Had a nice meal and had to drive home.
Yeah, we did. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
All right. So on the conviction, I want to pick on this just a little bit more
Mhm.
since you brought this up. And this is again going back to this discount aspect of it. How convinced are you in your own beliefs at the value in which you add? And you got to make a stand. And that stand is at the beginning of your relationship.
Mhm.
So you can make sure this client is really getting the best benefit. So what head trash do you need to deal with? And this is
Yes.
kind of probably beginning with those action items because we all have it. I just aired one of my head trash issues, right? About the 497 fee
Mhm.
is okay, great. You have head trash around this. How are you going to deal with this? Now, sometimes we need to just muscle through that head trash. We need to figure out a system to get it. Sometimes we need to figure out an alternate system to avoid us from breaking our own rules. I don't schedule anything on my calendar for clients, period, at the end of the day. Why? Because I'll break my
Yep.
rules. I
Yep.
will.
Yep.
Right now, there's a $10,000 fine every time I break the rules in my firm. Okay, I'm a lot less likely to break one of my processes now that I have such a big extreme accountability on these things. But that tells you that I was doing it and I was causing issues for my clients and I was causing issues for my team because I was breaking your own processes. This is the exact same thing with your fee. Now, if you want to
Mhm.
be a discount broker, perfect, go for that. But how equipped are you to compete with Vanguard, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, this goes back to being intentional, right? Which we've done dozens of episodes on. If you want to be the lowest cost provider, that's a model. Go in
Go
with that
for it.
intention, right? If you want to be a high quality advisor, deliver massive value, then that needs to be your model. Mike, another example I've seen that advisors use. By the way, I see this in all sorts of industries. Almost every industry, by the way, except ours. Ours is like the only industry where the fee discussion is a verbal discussion. Everyone else, it's a written discussion. They slide a piece of paper across the
Great
table
point.
and they say the fee is X, right? So if you find yourself struggling in that verbal conversation, quit having a verbal conversation. When it's time to have the fees, simply slide it across and say, here's our fee schedule, whatever it is. How would you like to proceed, right? Same with my orthodontist, because it's obviously top of mind. I've been paying them recently. Great news, Mr. Jarvis. Here is the fee for this round of treatment. If you pay cash up front, you get a 5% discount. Wow, thanks, guys. The generosity here is
Woo!
off the charts. But they don't say, well, how do you feel about $2,700? It's like, no, it's $5,493. You can get a 5% discount if you pay cash. And so find a system that works for you. But Micah, again, you cannot come to the table with any kind of wavering thought. And I'm
Well,
sorry, Micah, go ahead.
Jarvis, I want to push back on that. I mean, did you ask if they could just do like a half-ass job? Could you pay half as much? I mean, what if they made them look good but not great teeth for your kids? I mean, was that an option for the orthodontist? Did they say, well, good news, if you don't want to pay this, we can do not as good work?
Well, since this is my third child going through the same orthodontist, our discussions have evolved a little bit. They did tell my wife one time, this is where systems break. They said, hey, if you pay it today, you can get the 5% discount. And she didn't have our HSA checkbook with her. And so I said, well, tell them you're going to pay them next week. Well, they said I won't get the deal. Trust me, we'll get the deal. Like you
You'll get the deal.
can see that Mercedes out front that says Jarvis on it too.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing advisors can do, something I did all the time, borrow someone else's terminology. Just say, listen, if Micah's confident saying this, then if Jarvis is confident saying da da da, I'm just gonna use that. Um, Fake it until I make it, right? It's a mindset game.
All right, so this podcast is all about action items. So let's make sure we're jumping into this, Jarvis. Number one, write out your fee schedule.
Mhm,
Now, this is a great example. This should fit on a post it note. And if there's
mhm,
more than one tier, you have a problem, right?
mhm.
So I don't want 17 tiers of things broken out. Why do I bring this up? Because I've seen this. So this should be very, very simple. Your fee schedule should fit on a post it note. It should be non complex, not to you, should be non complex to someone else, a third party that can see it and know exactly what you charge for your fees.
Yeah, quick on that third party should not be another advisor that you know, unless it's an advisor who has a level of success that you want, right? If you see Mike at a conference and you want to have him look at your fee schedule, cool, that's a great example. If you're an Invictus member and you want to email that in, we'd be glad to look at it because we have expertise there. Otherwise, don't go to other less successful advisors. You can go to your spouse, you can go to
Yeah,
your office manager. You need to go to someone who's not going to say, "Oh, I actually also have 17 fee schedules." Okay,
perfect.
second action item related to that, you need to have in writing, if you struggle with this, how am I going to respond to these issues? And Micah, I love your point. If this is something you get awkward about at all, when someone says, hey, what discount can I get on this? You need to practice that again and again and again until it comes out
Yep.
as smoothly as. Now, remind me your name again. This can't be a spot of hesitation.
I love it. Number three, you need to wrap this up with extreme accountability. If
Mhm.
you fluctuate at all, and we've had mass success with this, by the way, with our other advisors. Jarvis, offline, you were telling me about an advisor we work with. You started working with about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and his weighted average in his fees went from 60 bips now to 105 bips. He's brought on more clients. He's continued to grow his practice, right? He's done these amazing things over time, but it was all about getting confident about the fees in which he was charging. One of the really great ways to do this is say, great, going forward, no more exceptions, and for every one exception you have, you got to fire your top client. So it's okay. Give out as many discounts as you want. And if you give out 5 discounts for 5 different clients, you just got to fire your top 5 clients based on revenue. So choice is yours, right? But all of a sudden, when you do this, now all of a sudden you realize how pricey, how costly those discounts can be, and how it's probably not worth it in the end. That's extreme accountability.
That, by the way, is not a fictitious example. We've set that up with multiple advisors. Perfect. Every time you take a person below your minimum or a person at a discount, just fire your top client because you're not delivering massive value to them by taking on these non-ideal clients. Not a big deal. Take as many as you'd like. Just
Go
not going to
for it.
end very
Knock
well.
yourself out. Yep. I
We have
was
a little
just,
bit
I
of
was just gonna
internet
say on
lag
that.
sometimes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So
know.
I would say one other thing on that. If you've had success with your fee discussion, whether that's how you articulate that, how you are handling objections, concerns, and even fee increases, whatever that is, we love to hear those stories. Send those to Lifestyle at the
Yeah.
Perfect RA. Go to the Lifestyle or the Perfect RA Facebook page or LinkedIn page and share those. We love to hear those success stories. They get us very excited. This advisor that we mentioned that went from 60 basis points to 105, it is transforming his life. Micah, it gives you and I so
Yeah.
much excitement and energy to keep doing these, to have this whole infrastructure in place. And by the way, it's not just for Micah and I, though that's what we
Yes.
care about right now. It's for every other advisor, right? Because if our story helped you, your story will help another advisor. Kind of pay that
Yes.
forward, if you will, by saying, here's where I struggled in the past, here's how I fixed it, and here's what I'm doing going forward.
the more facts we share about this, and Jarvis and I, we get all bent out of shape about theory in our industry, but the more advisors that step forward and said, here's actually what happened in my practice,
Mhm,
good and bad, right? And just being
mhm,
open to it, like openly sharing your financial planning and saying, great, this is my 1 page plan. This is my 50
mhm.
page plan. This is what I'm doing. Show me what you're doing and let's see how we can improve. The more we can have this open communication, the more we can transform this industry. What I get excited about is just not the advisors' lives at which we are changing, the clients' lives that we are changing. Because by pushing up this elevation in this bar, right, by making better advisors, we are making better clients. We're having more success with clients in the end. And Jarvis, that's really what gets me excited.
Yeah. Oh, it's so exciting. So really appreciate everybody for listening. The TPR Nation continues to grow by leaps and bounds. We love doing everything that we've got here. Be sure to give the podcast 5 stars on Apple or whatever platform you're listening. Mike, I now get them fed through my Amazon Prime. So whatever platform you're on, go in there, give it 5 stars, share your favorite things. And really until next time, happy planning.